Hey everyone, welcome to entry 39 of the new entry series. I know well, it's about a little after 5 minutes after 2 right now. And the reason I'm doing this entry is because I wanted to talk about what happened today. It was a very interesting day, if you will. Well, first of all, it was my mom's second day back at work. And what was interesting about it is the fact that while she was gone, there was a lot of phone calls today. She got a phone call that she needed to hear, and so on and so forth. And then I got a surprise visit from my cousin who used to live with us because he had to pick up some mail, and he was in the vicinity anyway. So got to see him. But also today, or yesterday if you will, was my niece's 18th birthday. I know, it's hard to believe. I mean, here I am turning 31 about almost a month ago. 31, me. And almost a month later, I'm celebrating my niece's 18th birthday. You know, and honestly, I know that's sort of a rarity sometimes in some, what a lot of families. It's a rarity. I mean, it's a rarity to the fact that you could be in your just beginning your 30s, just getting into your 30s, and already your niece or your nephew is already an adult, or you're now the great nephew, you're the great uncle of a nephew or a niece. It's hard to believe. But then again, it happens. Circumstances, cause it to happen. But it's a good thing. It's a good thing that it happens sometimes because, it makes you reflect on what life has to offer. I mean, just when you think no one, or not no one, but just when you think you're never going to, excuse me, you're never going to be in the category that very few are in, you're in that category. And then when you celebrate a person's 18th birthday, and yet you're still in the early stages of your life, if you were as an adult. I know that sounds crazy, but you're still in the early stages of your life. And you look back at this, it's like, where did the time go? It's crazy. But again, everything has a reason. Everything has a reason. And yeah, we had a good time today. There's no doubt about it. But again, when you look back at it and you say to yourself, and you look back and you think, man, it wasn't that long ago that I was 18, and now the nephew or the niece that I've seen grow up before my very eyes is now 18. You think to yourself, where did the time go? It's strange because my sisters still go out with their friends, and they still go out with their husbands and their friends, and they go out and they have their drinks, they go out and have their parties, and they act like they're kids again. And yet, the realization hits them when they come home. Then they may go out and party like rock stars, to coin a phrase, but when they come home, reality hits that they're not those teenagers anymore. In fact, they're adults, they're parents, they're uncles, they're aunts. And in this case, for my oldest sister and her husband, grandparents. Think about it. I mean, to enter. To think about it. You go out and you do those things. And yet you got to come back to the realization that it wasn't that long ago you were in that position, but now you look back, but now you're looking into the future, and you think to yourself, what happened? Now I'm not trying to sound confusing, I'm not trying to sound downplayed or anything. I'm just trying to say that it's, for me, today, or yesterday, and I know for a fact for my mom, for my sisters, and for my oldest sister mostly, to look at the fact that we are in our early to mid 30s, and the oldest out of this generation of kids that we passed the torch down to is now an adult. And then it hits you that in 3 years, another becomes an adult. I mean, it's no wonder people always say that 40 is the new 20 and 30 is the new teenage years. And some people say 50 is the new 30 or 60 is the new 30 and 60 is the new 40. It's no wonder people say that. Because when you think about it, 30-year-olds like myself and my sisters and their friends, we try to go out and we try to live life to the fullest. Because when we come home and we look into the eyes of our nieces, our nephews, our daughters, our sons, not saying I have any, because I'm just an uncle, but when we come home and we look into the eyes and the realization hits, we're not teenagers anymore. We're just going by the saying that people are talking about. The saying that 60 is the new 40, 50 is the new 30, 40 is the new 20s, and 30s are the new teenage years. And heck, they might go as far as to say 20s is the new kid years. And then it hits you. It's all talk. It's all that is nothing but talk to make you feel better, to make you feel younger. And indeed you are younger, but realization hits that all it is talk, because you got to look into the eyes of the generation that now stands before you, the generation that now you are passing the torch on to. I mean, when I go on YouTube and I take a look at the top, look at guys like the Big Daddy D channel, if you will, and his overload intros to cartoons from the 80s. I see stuff like that and I think to myself, where did the time fly? Because I remember sitting in front of in the middle of the living room, bowl of cereal in my hand, watching these shows. And now, just watching retro introductions and just watching these compilations of these introductions that I grew up on. And it hits you hard to realize now what you're watching on television is not what you see anymore. It makes you realize that that time in your life is gone. And it only lives now through DVDs and Blu-rays and VHSs, even those exist anymore. Heck, you take a look at the game systems nowadays. You take a look at things like the Xbox 360. You take a look at this, and you think to yourself, how far has games come? Because when you take a look at a system like this, and then you go into a place like the Rec Room here in my house, and you see a Nintendo, a top loader if you will, but still the same Nintendo controllers from the original NES. Excuse me. It hits you that things have changed. And not only have things changed, not only has time gone by, but you can't turn back the clock. It's like one person who used to be a wrestling personality said recently, on an MMA power hour, if you will. He said that you can clap, but you can't take that clap back. You can clap again, and you can't take that clap back. It's kind of like us. We could watch those shows that we did in the 80s, those cartoons, but we can't go back and we watch them again like we used to. Our only chance, like I said, is through DVDs and Blu-rays and possibly VHSs or even torrents, if you will. Those are our only way of finding them. But again, what I'm saying about this in this entry is tonight was a significant night for my family. For me and my sisters, because even though we're in our early to mid 30s, we now look into the eyes of someone that we raised, and we have to consider her now an adult. We have to now consider her one of us, because she's now legal age. And I know the law is trying everything they can to keep the legal age higher and keep bringing it higher and higher, so that possibly people like my niece could stay kids. But it's not possible. Once they graduate like she did this year, out of high school, that's it. That's the first step. And when they hit that 18th year, that's the final step. And it's true, in some cases they may have to wait 3 more years, but then after all 3 steps are complete, it's done. And like I said, she's not the last in our family. In 3 years, my 15-year-old nephew will be in that same category. And he says he's going to go off to the army. We'll just have to see what happens. But again, that's what this entry is about. How time flies. And you just don't know it. And that's all I could say. Again, the entry is about how time flies. You just don't know it. I just don't expect it. And that's all I could say. Again, it was a great time tonight celebrating my niece's 18th birthday. Had some barbecue. We had some sausage, carne, rice, beans, chicken. Had some beer, if you will, Bud Light Lime. Had some champagne. My mom really didn't drink it that much, didn't drink it at all, so. But it was a good time, but again, how time flies. So I thank you all for watching. Comment if you understand where I'm coming from, and I'll talk to you all later.